Hello, friends. This is the Connected Approach podcast, the world's number one podcast for connected leaders. I'm Chris Curtin.
And I'm Amanda White. Welcome, everyone, to your warm embrace. Today, we're going to be talking about the value of coaching.
That's right. Thanks, Amanda. You and I have been having conversations about the value of coaching, certainly for our clients and for our business. And there have been instances recently where I've been reflecting on the power and value of coaching in my life as well. And so I think that's what triggered this as our topic for today. So thanks for teeing that up. And you've been at this coaching game, in the coaching game for several years now. And you're a professional certified coach with the ICF, which, as you and I know, and I know this is a little bit of inside baseball for those who are not familiar, but the ICF, the International Coaching Federation, is the primary and premier certifying organization and professional organization for coaching. So to be at the professional certified coach level demonstrates a level of expertise for coaching. And you and I always talk about the fact that the proof is in the pudding. Like
Right.
as we start meeting with clients, it's really about how you connect with that person and how the coaching starts to go. But it's always good to know, especially as I respect and admire you as a coach, that there's that certified expertise that is the foundation for how you coach. So if you could just share a little bit about your perspectives, and I'll share it too, of not only how you've benefited from coaching as a coach, but as someone that has been coached, because that's part of the coaching profession
Right.
is consistently being coached as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the biggest gift that I can bring in coaching is the amount of time I've spent coaching myself and going through the journey of transformation myself. I was fortunate to when I went through coaching. It was at a time in my life that I was going through some pretty big things, and so to be going through and getting the certification, it really helped me to unblock a lot of what was going on in my life and within me. And I think one of the biggest gifts that coaching brings is getting really clear on what's most important to you for what you're doing in life. So it just, I've said this on many podcasts, like it just creates that clearer path for you. And and a lot of it, most of it is around figuring out who you are, really getting clear on the self part, and then building awareness around that. So self awareness. Um, a lot of it is clearing what's going on in our heads. And
Mm.
when you can do that and start to see the benefits of that, which takes a bit of time because it's not comfortable at all, it's unfamiliar territory. But I saw the huge value in getting the coaching myself as I was going through that process, and then continue to have a coach throughout um, throughout the years. I mean, I was just thinking about that this morning. I'm like, oh, maybe I've got a little loose on that. Like, I want to get more of a cadence where I'm getting a coach, where I'm spending, every week talking to someone, just to make sure I'm working through what I have going on, so I can be a better coach for others. But I think I'll start or leave it at that for now. What are your thoughts, Chris?
The word that comes up for me when I think about the value of coaching, and this might be a funny word, is speed. Because what I've found through the value of coaching from my coaches, from peer coaches, as we've worked through issues
Yeah.
together, is my ability to get from point
Yeah.
A, the beginning of my coaching challenge, my frustration, my anger, my
Yeah.
um, analysis by
Mhm.
paralysis by analysis, and work through those 26 steps, whatever they are, in a much faster way
Yeah.
than I did when I was first coaching. Some of my first coaching experiences were very, very emotional. Even more emotional than therapy or counseling, from my own experience with both,
Yeah.
and that much deeper and harder for me to try to crack through that issue. And now, about a year
Yeah.
later, maybe more than a year, maybe 15 months later, the same issues exist. That's something you and I should talk about. The same issues still exist, but my ability to pull through those 26 steps is
Yeah.
faster. And I don't mean faster like a little faster. I mean like something that 15 months ago I thought was impossible to work
Right.
through, or that, well, I just am who I am, or this is just the way it is, to, oh no, wait, I'm over here now.
Mhm.
And to do that in a matter of, maybe now it's minutes or hours
Yeah.
as opposed to seconds, as opposed to weeks, or believing that this is just the way
Who you
the
are.
way I
Right.
was.
Yeah.
And the way that's manifested itself, for lack of a better word, is like it's like, temper tantrums, right? Is
Yeah.
like is getting in the car and, like, turning on that loud music and being like, why? Or sharing with your closest confidants, with my wife or my closest friends, like, you're not gonna believe what happened to me. You know what I mean? And without any of that, able to kind of like work through. But really, like, that's kind of the evidence, is like
Yeah.
something that would have been a sit down conversation with one of my best friends, or been like, call me Deej,
Yeah.
like, it's now something that I'm like, I'm not going to bother them with some rant I
Yeah.
have about some issue I'm working through. And that doesn't mean I'm not trying to include those people in my life, but I'm
Right.
saying now I get to share the best of myself with those people, or the better parts of myself that don't always get the best,
Yeah.
because I'm working through it on my own. Like, oh, wait a minute,
You have the
that person that
tools.
cut me off in traffic. Yeah, that person that cut me off in traffic wasn't, out to sort of like ruin my day. It's that whole idea of empathizing with others and where they must be,
Yeah.
but very quickly getting to, the clarity of, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah. I was going to ask you,
I'm
what do you think is the biggest skill set that you think you built to help you through that 26 step, whatever it is, process? And you said empathy. I think, unless you have another one, but I think empathy is a huge one. And I think empathy can come across as like, I'm empathetic. That's going to make me not as strong, or it seems like a very almost like feminine, thing to develop, when it's actually one of the strongest skill sets that you can develop to help yourself be your best self and show up the best to others within the organization or whatever, because empathy does just let you let things go, because all of
mm,
a sudden you're broadening, like you're kicking in that empathetic, whatever inside you, and it immediately helps you to broaden perspective and get back to what you're wanting to focus on, versus like just allowing yourself to like get sidetracked and then take everybody else down with you. Like call this person and this person, and it just it's just not helpful. None of it is helpful. That's what you got to say, is like, any of this helpful, or is it just, I mean, sometimes I do say it's a sport. Like sometimes it's fun to play the sport. Sometimes it's fun to just be like, like you'll never believe it.
yeah.
But you have to be aware of like how many times you pull that trigger, because it's just not, it's, well, if you're focused on trying to get to a point that you want to get to, it's not going to help you to get there.
Yeah, it's interesting. It reminds me of the quote from Shakespeare. I think it's from Othello. It's sound and fury signifying nothing.
Right.
And so that's the thing, is that I can find myself we can find ourselves in that sound and fury signifying nothing at
Yeah.
all. And so you're right back to where you started in having expended a ton of energy on all these things that we can't control, probably aren't true,
Yeah.
probably are manifested within our own mind, that are either slights or barriers or whatever.
Yeah.
So empathy is certainly a word. We talk about this in positive intelligence, thinking about judgment versus discernment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know
Yeah.
how do I ensure that I'm not judging self or judging others or judging the circumstances, while at the same time discerning them and
Yeah.
putting it through the filter of what are those things that I control, actually control, and it's how I perceive this,
Yeah.
how I perceive the situation and the next steps. So
Judgment is a big one. When you said that word, I like my body had this reaction because I was listening to a podcast. I'll have to find what it is, but it was going through all these things of how to reach your fullest potential and be your best self, all the things that we talk about. And at the very end, it was like, until you let go of judgment and criticism, you will never like reach your fullest potential, or it'll be a lot harder to reach your fullest potential. And it just like, when there's those things that you hear and it's just like, oh, it just hits you like a ton of bricks. Like, I needed to hear that word. And so judgment has always been one that I talk about, self-awareness, that I really try and watch myself on. And it's been something that I've had to really rewire my thinking on, because we're in organizations, there's a lot of comparison and a lot of criticism and a lot of judgment that goes on. And all of a sudden it's like, I mean, I gave myself this own exercise of seeing how long I could go throughout a day. And then it was like even an hour without judging self,
yeah,
which you don't even realize that you're doing, but without judging self, others, or circumstances. And it was like, holy crap. You just don't
yeah.
even realize. And again, we talk, it's just not help. It doesn't help anything. So that is a really interesting exercise to do, that you have to let go of and get to the point of, watching the judgment versus discernment.
As you and I were working through a coaching issue yesterday,
Yeah.
and without getting into the specifics of that, it's pretty private. Um, One of the learnings, one of the reflections I had about the session and about the learning was, this is part of the work.
Yeah.
The work of being a coach, the work of continuing to try to open those windows that
Yeah.
we don't even know exists, right? You
Yes.
think about the Johari window, right?
I feel
What
like,
are those things that
eh.
I'm just not aware of at all? I'm not holding back from you, or I'm aware, you're aware of, but I'm not. It's those elements of that where we're opening a window that I didn't have awareness to, and that work
Yeah.
with myself is part of the work of being a coach, of increasing my own awareness and discernment about self. And my joke was, oh boy, I'd just rather have a job. Like, because this work is not paid. And in order to get where I want to go, in order to help myself, to help others, to help the
Yeah.
circumstances, these are the things.
Yeah.
These are the very personal things that I have to work through. And the reflection that there's no job that could make me, especially when you're in a an organization where judgment
Yeah.
and the politics are just part of it,
Yeah.
just part and parcel and part of it.
Yeah.
And so that was a really, I wrote it on one of my sticky notes, like, this is part of the
Yeah.
work. There's the work we do that we offer to others, and that is our going concern, our business. And then there's the work that we're doing personally with ourselves and within ourselves. And
Yeah.
that's what's so wonderful about the coaching profession. When people say, "Hey, if you want to be a coach, you really have to be committed to continuous learning."
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
from the outside, it's like, "Oh yeah, great. I'll take some of those, continuing coaching education credits, and I'll rack those up. Got it, no problem. I need it for certification." And that's not what the ICF means. That's not what we as coaches mean. We mean this type of work, like, oh, putting up what Elvis Costello called the deep, dark, truthful mirror of like, here's you, right? It's like, yeah,
And
yeah,
Chris,
yeah,
what do
yeah.
you think as far as when we're sharing this value with others? I mean, we're sharing it now, but some people are kind of like, don't bring that to me. Like, don't bring that deep, go figure out life, blah, blah, blah. Like, I just want a coach that like tells me how I can like get to that next step.
Yeah. You're, I think, more of the expert on this. This is that snorkeling versus
Yeah.
scuba diving,
Yeah.
which we can thank our wonderful mentors
Yeah.
and teachers, Kat and Sue, for
Yeah.
with their program and how we've learned. If they want to snorkel, we take snorkelers. That's fine.
Hmm.
What's so exciting about the coaching journey is when we do get the scuba
Yeah.
divers, the people who go, I don't know, man, this is a little scary. Okay, let's go see. Jerry Seinfeld has a great joke about scuba diving where he said he thinks the only fun of the activity is to not die. You
Yes,
know,
I would agree with that.
right. There's a turtle, there's some plankton, don't die. There's a turtle, there's a who, don't die. It's just like this constant feeling of just
That's my
doom.
perception
And
too.
not so. In that regard, um, the scuba diving and even to Jerry Seinfeld's joke, it is scarier.
Hmm.
And you and I have talked about this, and our other coaching partner, who's in Connected Approach Partners, Carrie Greminger, we've talked about this as well.
Yeah.
It's really so fulfilling when we are able to scuba dive together because I want to help everybody professionally.
Yeah.
Got it. And the people that we partner with, we develop an affinity for. We want to help them,
Yeah.
the real person
Yeah.
that is going to be marching through life and having a human experience for as long as they're a human being, for
Yeah.
as long as they're living. And sometimes I'd love your perspective on this. Sometimes you can crack that snorkel. Some people go right deep, right into scuba diving, and you're like,
Yes.
yes. All we can do is try to crack away at that. Like, actually, we got a scuba tank over
Yeah.
here, and you just kind of put your mouth right. And there are some real
Yeah.
uh, tough cookies that just say, I'm good.
Yeah.
I like being at here, and like I'm at this level, and I got to get to that level
Yeah.
professionally.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say we will take the snorkelers. I, I don't enjoy the snorkeling, as much because I have felt the benefit of really going deep in the scuba coaching. And so it's just amazing when you can just partner with someone. We talked last episode about this whole, intro of welcome to the warm embrace, but it is a wonderful feeling when you can provide that space that people can step into and just explore and feel seen and be trusted and can say, you know what, I'll step into this, and all of a sudden you have me thinking of things that I haven't thought about, and something pops up. It's nothing that we say or tell. It's really just being there to reflect back, some of the things that we may be noticing. And when a client can get that resonance of like, oh man, this is what it is. Once they feel that, then that's when they kind of continue to say like, all right, I'm in. Like I gotta I've now opened the window and I have to keep going. But usually, Chris, my experience is it takes something. It takes something really big or really bad that says, I just, I have to. Like, I've hit a wall, I've hit burnout, I can't do this anymore. I want, more for my life, or it's a turning point in career or age. There's usually something that tees that up.
Mm, mm. It's such a blessing when that happens, in my opinion, because
It's hard, but it is a blessing, right? Yeah.
you start, you're faced with
Mm-hmm.
the truth, your truth,
Yeah.
and
Some might call it a midlife crisis. We want to try and change that to maybe it's the awakening that you needed, but either way, it kind of sucks in the moment. Yeah.
right, right. Can you talk for a moment about the promise of presence in coaching? Because for some of our viewers and listeners, they've not engaged in coaching,
Hmm.
and they may be thinking about the coaches that they know in their life, whether it's the athletic coach that they had, or it's their coaching
Yeah.
and really advising that they're doing to either their direct reports
Yeah.
or to people that they support. And the premise of presence as a coach,
Hmm. Yeah. I like superpowers for some reason. I feel like I'm talking about superpowers all the time. Like,
right?
but I think it really is the superpower of coaching. Because I can just share my experience when I went through my first coach training, and I had been in HR for, I don't know, 15 plus years at the time, and really felt like I was a good coach. Like, I know how to do this. Like, people come in, they sit, I tell them what to do, they're like all happy, they leave. All right, got it. And um, I went through, it was a 3 day, the first part was 3 days in person. And at the end of the first night, I was like, holy smokes. Like, I am just like, I was just felt like I'm not going to be able to do that. Like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing, because I was in such a tell mode, a fix it mode. Coaching is not as much like, that's why I wouldn't compare it to like an athletic coach. I think some really, really good, powerful or athletic coaches maybe can pull players aside and kind of do this, but it's really about asking powerful questions. But it's not like they have to be the right questions. The presence really comes from really being here and hearing, listening, just being like eye to eye, even over, Zoom. It doesn't have to be, most of what we do is not in person, but you can still feel that presence. But it's really kind of saying, like, I think there's something else. I can tell that you changed your voice a little bit. Like, you changed your mood, you got fidgety. What is that? By asking questions, by really being present and paying attention, instead of getting caught in the trap of, I have to have the perfect question. And so you're kind of thinking on the next question that you have to ask, instead of being like, what was that? Like, you just kind of like stepped away from the question. So it's asking for permission for the person to go deeper and explore that. And but you have to be in it. You have to be that presence, have that presence to really even see that. So it actually, once I got that it wasn't about telling and fixing, and it was just being there, it was a huge, like, weight off my shoulders. It was
Mm.
amazing. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like freeing me, because it makes me feel lighter right now. I'm just like, huh. Because instead of always feeling like anyone that came in my office, I had to like figure out, the smart answer or fix it. I just had to help them, because we know what we want. Like, I know I just need someone to help me kind of bring it to the surface because I got all this other junk going on. And so that's really what it's all about, which is a wonderful process. Did you have a similar experience? I think you did.
I did. You know what I'm reflecting on is a recent coaching that I had with someone, and just to share with people who, once again, aren't familiar, it can be, you're right, the tone or inflection or how someone is. I know that when I've been coached and I'm like,
I'm like,
like
why are
you're
you
touching
rubbing
your
your
face
face? What's
again.
that?
Yeah. And sometimes it's the words that someone uses.
Yeah.
Someone was consistently referring to their limitations, their limitations, their
Yeah.
limitations, and it's like, what is what does limitations mean to
Right.
you? Not what are your
Yeah.
limitations, but what does that word mean to you? Because that was something that was a barrier,
Right.
and just reflecting that back to the coachee was valuable as we continued to talk. And so,
Well, I've had that a number of times when in a coaching session for myself, I'll realize it for myself. All of a sudden, I'm using a word and then I'll catch myself and be like, I don't know why I use that word. What does that mean? It means something because it came up during this coaching session. And on the flip side, where you'll all of a sudden be saying, like, you just said that word 4 times and they don't even realize it. They're like, I didn't even realize I was saying it. And then they start thinking of it. So you're exactly right.
a coaching question for both of us: what have we learned today about the value of coaching?
I was just thinking, I was thinking about this morning, and even more so, it just pumps me up. Like, coaching is truly my passion. I just absolutely love coaching others to help them break through whatever it is that has them, kind of caught. But I love it for myself too. And it just makes me, the key learning I have is I need to get back with just a more regular coaching sessions for myself, being coached, because it is definitely part of a huge part of the growth and continuous learning. So I've loved talking about this and sharing just a few snippets. How about you?
So the words that are coming up: depth.
Yeah.
The deeper you go, the better you grow.
Yeah.
Right, that phrase, right? Or the bigger you grow. Speed,
Yeah.
to get from, once again, from one side of the issue to the other, and then you said it: continuous learning, continuous improvement,
Yeah.
progress. So depth, speed, and progress are what come up for me in terms of the value of coaching. So,
Mm-hmm.
well, Amanda, another great episode and another great conversation. As for our listeners, we look forward to seeing you and talking to you again soon. Until then, lead well, my friends.
Stay true to you. Bye, everybody.